In my mind, the greatest social movement of the century. Did you see the civil rights movement coming?
Yes, I could see it coming. I saw it in various ways. I worked with Thurgood Marshall in the case of Lyman Johnson against the University of Kentucky back in 1948, when I was the expert witness in that case. And of course, I worked with him constantly in the summer of 1953 when he was preparing the re-arguments for Brown against the Board of Education that had been remanded by the Supreme Court to the attorneys and their clients for a re-argument in the fall of 1953 when they would answer certain questions about the intent of the framers of the 14th Amendment and so forth. And so I worked with him all that summer and into the fall and got a good handle on what was going on in the litigation field. And I knew of things that were happening in Texas, Sweat against Painter, and in various other places, the Smith against Allwright, the transportation case. And these things were boiling up and coming together in a way. And then there were mass meetings, particularly after the Martin Luther King's response to the problems that we're having in Montgomery, the bus boycott and so forth. And that was all boiling too. And one couldn't be a close student of these affairs without realizing that something major was happening and about to happen. This certainly was true by 1959, 60, when you had the Montgomery bus boycott having been successful, when you had these cases that I mentioned having been won, when you had the Brown case having been won. Now there was negative response to all of these events by whites in the South and some in the North. But there was no question in my mind but that this was marching on. Now, by the time of the Montgomery March in '63, I think that things were really boiling, and the civil rights movement was reaching its apex. The marching had been successful all through, and they were pressing now for legislation that would come in '64 and '65. And there would be the big march on Washington, and then there would be these other marches on Selma, in which I participated. So that by that time, any observer could see what was going on, that the civil rights movement had reached its apex, probably, and that the country would never be the same again.
You had a role in...
Especially after the legislation of '64, '65.
Did you have a role in the Brown v. Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas?
Yes, I did. I was a member of what Thurgood Marshall called the non-legal research staff. He called me. I was teaching at Cornell University that summer, and he called me and asked me, summer '53, he said, what are you doing this fall? I said, well, I'm going back to Howard University. He said, you know what else you'll be doing? I said, no. He said, you'll be working for me. He said, and then he told me about the case and how they had to get some history of the Reconstruction period. And I said, well, all right, I'll work for you. And so I began to work for him in summer '53, toward the end of the summer. And I went to Washington. I went from Washington to New York every week, from Wednesday to Sunday, every week, working with him, writing papers, doing research, answering questions. We had seminars, we had all the kind of group meetings. The lawyers were in and out, and whenever we would assemble to talk about this, they were most respectful, and they were very quiet because they wanted to know what happened during Reconstruction, you see. And so there I was to tell them what happened during Reconstruction. And I did that until late November of 1953. Every week I went there. And I can add parenthetically, I've never seen a person work as hard as Thurgood Marshall.